Nice to get things going.
Yes. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Thank you so much for making the time to sit down with us. And your experiences are invaluable, especially in Korea. There's very limited people like yourself, foreigners that live there in a managing director role. So, yeah, thanks so much for sharing that with our audience.
No, really, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to having this little chat, and of course, hopefully, some of the comments might be useful for other people out there who are aspiring to have a more international career. When I think about my situation, when I take a step back, I have to say I feel very privileged and also very grateful that I had the chance, so through my company, to go through all these different stations. Moving from Germany to Singapore to Japan to Korea. So I feel very grateful that I get to have this experience, that I get to live in these exciting cultures and get to know so many exciting people. When I when I think back, to myself at a young age, I was always curious. I always wanted to see the world, but I couldn't imagine that I would actually end up
Mm.
living in another country and for multiple years and have this very unique experience. So when I have to look at the situation, I feel very grateful and also very excited because I have to say, you never know what's next.
So, just to jump right in, what makes business in Korea so unique?
So when I first arrived in Korea, I noticed Korea moves very fast. So decisions happen very quickly. And also, people are really expecting fast results. And on top of that, I've noticed there's also a real and deep pride in local achievement. So when you spend time in Korea, you can feel there's a real drive to innovate, but also to compete. To compete on a global level, on a global stage. So when you take all that, together in one picture, I was very positive and of course had a very positive impression. And I also noticed that, with everything I just mentioned, at the same time, I was still surprised how important personal connection and relationships are.
And so, what are some of the challenges that you faced adjusting to the Korean business style, and how did you navigate them?
Yeah, I think that was a very eye opening experience. So, in the beginning, I have to admit, I underestimated in certain areas how much hierarchy exists. But
Hmm.
that hierarchy is also kind of balanced with a certain sense or wish for harmony. So both can be quite important at the same time. But for me personally, I had to learn to listen more, um, slow down, and really to adapt my style, my leadership style, to actually build trust. And for me, this is still an ongoing process. I'm still learning, and
Hmm.
especially as a German, I have to say we Germans, we love to debate. We love to focus on facts and cut straight to the chase.
I think this kind of rolls into the next question I had in mind for you. I was going to ask you, what cultural, professional abilities does somebody need to have in order to succeed in Korea?
Well, I mean, of course, there are so many things that you need to bring to the table and many things to consider. But if I can just, pick a few or highlight a few that are especially important for my experience, is patience,
Hmm.
also humility, and consistency. I mean, you need to really understand that in Korea, respect and trust really takes time to build up. and it's really only building up slowly. So you need to earn it, on a daily
Mm.
basis. You need to earn it by showing up every day, by being reliable, and that's how you can build trust. But there are no shortcuts, so it really does take time.
And have you seen differences in leadership styles and how teams function in Korea as, particularly in comparison to Japan and Germany? And Japan and Germany, they sound kind of different. At the same time, there's also similarities between those two cultures. And so I'm wondering, how did that work out for you in Korea?
Well, so first of all, I have to say, really, all of them are quite different from one to another. Even though I think there are some things everyone has in common, especially there are some common things between also Japan and Korea, but at the same time, really fundamental differences. So starting maybe with the Germans, since
Mm.
that's where I come from. German teams, they usually expect directness and very open and direct communication. um, Japanese teams, they value, I would say, they would value time. They need time to reflect, to think it through, but at the end, they need consensus. And now, lastly, Korean teams. Korean teams can move very fast. There's a saying in Korea, called "bali bali," and you can sometimes notice this. So, therefore, they're expecting a faster speed, but which is really important, to not jump the gun. So they still would like to see alignment, but this alignment is happening rather behind the scenes. So really each culture communicates quite differently, and you need to have different strategies to be successful.
What is the most exciting industries or innovation trends that you see happening in Korea?
Oh, I mean, there's so much going on, but since my background is rather in healthcare and medical devices, I'm very keen to see, what is now happening with also digital health, and looking more also on the industrial side. I mean, there are topics like smart factories, hydrogen safety, green energy. So many things happening, and you can tell that Korea is investing heavily, into the future, into innovation, and at the same time, the speed of implementing that innovation is much faster than, for instance, in Germany. You can see
Mm.
that the latest development, just following the news, the new government in Korea has just announced that they're planning to invest more than 70 billion US dollars
Wow.
into AI. So, as you can see, really staying on trend, going with the time, and trying to innovate.
And what advice would you give to foreign nationals that are considering to build a career in Korea?
Well, first of all, I would say go in with an open mind. Yeah, so try to be curious, try to learn, and try not to be too critical. What can also help is learning the language. That's definitely a door opener. And to really understand the culture and also the values, you need to study the history. That's also what I did, looking back. And with the rapid growth of Korea since the Korean War and really rebuilding the economy in such a speed, that has a lasting impact. And what can also help is if you find a local kind of mentor or a local mediator who can really
Mm.
help you understand all the hidden rules. There are a lot of things that are not spoken out loudly and which are
Yeah.
happening behind the scenes.
Mhm.
So, therefore, having a personal guide can be very valuable.
Thank you very much for sharing these insights today. Lastly, what is the right vibe for doing business in Korea?
Hmm. Yeah, the right vibe. So, I would say, you know, it's about showing respect. Yeah, showing respect. I'm a visitor, a guest in the country, so I think that's quite important. But you need to really stay sharp. You need to stay sharp because things are moving so quickly, and you need to be able to move quickly yourself as well. And with that, there's always an opportunity for you to grow as a person. and you need to be ready when things are happening that are maybe unexpected, but you can grow professionally, and ideally you do that together with your team and with the local people. I have to say they're really great people to be around, and such a lovely country, so it can be a great experience.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being on the right
Thank
facts.
you.